I was born into a wealthy family, but against my family's wishes, I married Shinchin, a poor boy. In the second year of our marriage, my parents died unexpectedly. To inherit the vast fortune, Shinchin set fire to the villa, burning me and our child alive. Later, he used my money to marry his childhood sweetheart, bought her a house and a car, and even had beautiful twin children with her. By some mercy of fate, I was reborn this time. I heeded my parents' advice and obediently married the partner they chose for me. Shinchin was completely dumbfounded. I died in a massive fire. To kill me, Shinchin lured me to a villa in the mountains. He kicked me in the stomach when I was 4 months pregnant. The pain was as sharp as ice-cold needles piercing through me. Clutching my belly, I slowly knelt down, watching as Shinchin used a lighter to ignite the curtains. The fire quickly became uncontrollable, engulfing the curtains and bookshelves, and thick smoke filled the air. Just then, he confessed to me he had tampered with my parents' car, causing the brakes to fail and sending them rolling down a hillside. Curled up on the ground, my heart ached with anger. I asked him, "Why, Shinchin? My parents treated you like their own son. Why would you harm them?" In a burst of rage, Shinchin yelled back, "If they truly treated me like a son, would they secretly make a will with a lawyer, leaving all their property only to you? They were guarding against me, right? Well then, I might as well kill you all and take the money for myself." As the fire grew, I started coughing from the smoke, and blood seeped onto my white dress from between my legs. "Shinchin, even a beast wouldn't harm its own child. Your heart is so cruel." Shinchin laughed maniacally. "As for the child, once I inherit the fortune, there will be plenty of women to bear my children. I don't need the one in your belly. Oh, and by the way, I forgot to tell you, Man is also pregnant with my child." Wang Man, his childhood sweetheart. At that moment, I lay on the ground, too pained to speak. He taunted me through the flames, wearing a hat and mask. "Han Tang, go reunite with your parents below." That night, my body twisted and convulsed in agony in the fire, my screams of pain echoing through the mountains for a long time. When I opened my eyes again, I was back in my senior year of college. Today was the first anniversary of my relationship with Shinchin. We were at a resort, celebrating with a few friends. The noisy music blared as everyone raised their glasses in high spirits. I suddenly caught my breath, staring at the familiar yet strange surroundings, stunned for a good 10 seconds, until a tipsy Shinchin wrapped his arm around my shoulder and said, "Tang Tang, I'm going to the restroom." I watched him stagger out the door. A minute later, Wang Man also left. Recalling my past life, Shinchin had said Wang Man was pregnant with his child. Could it be that they were already together now? I decided to follow them and see for myself. Shinchin and Wang Man entered the stairwell one after the other. I quietly approached and pushed open a small door crack, and immediately, sounds of passionate kissing filled the quiet hallway. Wang Man said sourly, "Did you really have to rush me out here so urgently? Aren't you afraid Han Tang will find out?" Shinchin, brimming with arrogance, declared, "What's there to fear? She's dead set on marrying no one but me now. I've got her completely wrapped around my finger." Suppressing my disgust, I turned on my phone's camera. I crouched down, my hand close to the floor, and slowly slid the phone under the door to record their intense kissing. Afterwards, I gently closed the door and turned to leave. I ran to the bathroom, where I vomited several times, nearly bringing up bile. I washed my face with cold water to calm myself down. Looking at myself in the mirror, my skin was unscathed, showing no signs of burns, which stirred some excitement in me. I wasn't married to Shinchin yet. There was still time to change things. I immediately called my parents. Hearing their voices, I couldn't help but choke up. After composing myself, I left the bathroom and bumped into someone around the corner of the hallway. The person quickly reached out to steady me. I hurriedly apologized. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." But as I looked up, I froze, tears uncontrollably streaming down my face. It was Fu Yan. I was relieved he was still alive. In a past life, as I lay dying, it was Fu Yan who had rushed into the inferno alone trying to save me. But the fire was too intense, and ultimately, he didn't make it out alive either. We perished together in the blaze. With his last breath, he regretfully whispered in my ear, "Han Tang, if there is an afterlife, would you fall in love with me first?" Fu Yan's voice, cool and subtle, asked, "Why are you crying?" Realizing I had lost my composure, I quickly pulled my arm from his grasp and wiped my tears. Somewhat bewildered, I asked, "What are you doing here?" Fu Yan looked at me for a couple of seconds, then, adjusting his glasses, said, "This resort belongs to me. Isn't it normal for me to be here?" I noticed several men in suits behind him, each carrying a laptop bag. I said, "Then you must be busy. I won't disturb you." "All right," Fu Yan responded coldly and then walked past me with his group. I stood there, watching his tall figure disappear into the crowd, so detached. Why was he so different from the person I knew in my past life? When I returned to the private room, everyone was playing Truth or Dare. Shinchin and Wang Man had also returned. Wang Man casually came over and pulled me. "Come on, Tang Tang, join us." I looked at her lips, swollen from being kissed, clenched my teeth to suppress the urge to slap her. Shinchin pulled me down next to him, his eyes full of concern. "Where did you go? Why did it take you so long to come back?" I was so worried. Shinchin was really good at pretending. In a past life, I was deceived by his portrayal of a devoted lover. In front of me, he was always polite and extremely gentle. He had even risked his life to save me. I had always believed his love for me was genuine and never doubted him. Someone teased Wang Man. Does your dorm have any other beautiful single girls like Han Tang? Introduce them to us too. Don't keep all your thoughts on Shinchen. Who can compare to Shinchen? Everyone else just back off. Wow, childhood friends really are different. Huh, you're already taking his side. Wang Man was causing a scene, while Shinchen just laughed. They seemed to enjoy this thrilling feeling of flirting right in front of me, during the game. When the bottle pointed at Wang Man, I asked with a smile. Man, when was your last kiss? Wang Man's face immediately turned red. With an affected tone, she said, Ah, Tang, what are you talking about? I haven't even dated anyone yet. I still have my first kiss. She glanced at Shinchen. Besides, I'm not as lucky as you to have such an outstanding boyfriend like Shinchen. Everyone around exclaimed with a wow. It turns out everyone noticed Wang Man's feelings for Shinchen. I held Wang Man's hand seriously and said, How about I let you have Shinchen? The smile on Wang Man's face froze, and she looked at me in astonishment. The bystanders were equally shocked, but the most flustered was Shinchen. He immediately hugged me guiltily. Tang, what are you talking about? I swear. You're the only one I want in my life, if I ever betray you. May lightning strike me, seeing the cold sweat on his forehead. I suddenly laughed. I was just joking. Look how nervous you got. Being struck by lightning would be too easy on you. After a night of fun, everyone went back to their rooms, tired, having drunk a bit. My stomach was upset. After taking a shower, I called the front desk to ask for some stomach medicine. So, when the doorbell rang, I didn't think much of it and opened the door in my nightgown. Standing at the door, however, was Fu Yan. He wasn't wearing a jacket, only a black shirt with his tie not as neatly tied as before, his gaze dropping from my face to my chest. I looked down and saw my loosely fitting nightgown, almost as if it was intentionally seductive. I quickly turned and grabbed a blanket from the bed, wrapping it tightly around me. When I returned to the door, Fu Yan handed me a box of stomach medicine. I ran into the service staff in the elevator and brought it up for you. I held the medicine in my hand. Thank you. He didn't plan to stay, bidding me good night. As he was leaving, I couldn't help but call his name, Fu Yan. Actually, I was supposed to marry Fu Yan, but back then I was too rebellious, hating the restrictions set by my family and the arranged marriage they pushed on me. And Fu Yan was that arranged match. I even disliked him without really getting to know him. I ignored all the kindness he showed me. Fu Yan looked at me with a meaningful expression. What is it? I suddenly remembered what he whispered in my ear in a past life. Tang, if there is a next life, how about you fall for me first? I owed him a life. This time, I wanted to make it up to him properly. Seeing me silent, Fu Yan nodded. If there's nothing else, I'll leave. Fu Yan, do you still want me? He frowned. What did you say? My palms were sweaty with nervousness as I whispered, my breath tight. Fu Yan, I don't want to break off our engagement anymore. Will you still marry me? He lowered his gaze to me for a while, as if trying to bore a hole through my face with his stare. When a response didn't come, my tightly clenched fingers gradually loosened, my heart sinking into disappointment. I forced a smile and said, Never mind then. Good night. But just as the door was about to close, Fu Yan suddenly reached out and held the door frame. He pushed the door open again, and my heart leaped. Fu Yan's presence was cold and imposing as he said, Han Tang, what makes you think I, Fu Yan, would want someone who has a boyfriend? Huh, his question caught me off guard. I had almost forgotten that, having come back to life, I hadn't broken up with Shinchen yet. But how could I tell him that Shinchen and I were no longer possible? That I was just waiting for the right moment. His icy gaze fixed on me. Why aren't you speaking? Our eyes met, the surrounding atmosphere heavy enough to suffocate. I found myself unconsciously holding my breath. I tried to speak several times but didn't know how to explain. Eventually, I just looked down, defeated. I'm sorry, Fu Yan, I'm sorry. Sorry to him in my past life, and to him now. I felt cornered under his intense scrutiny, almost desperate to close the door. But Fu Yan pushed the door open forcefully, barging in, and pinned me against the wall as he kicked the door shut. He moved closer, his voice tense. Han Tang, I've been trying so hard to forget you. Why do you have to provoke me? Last life, I risked my life for you. How are you going to torment me in this life? He was also reborn. My eyes widened in shock as I stared at him. Almost at the same time, someone knocked on my room door. Shinchen's voice came from outside. Tang, are you in there? I heard some noises from your room. Are you alright? I had forgotten that Shinchen lived next door, and at that moment, I was pressed against the door by Fu Yan. Just a door away from him, Shinchen's knocking grew more urgent. Tang, open the door. Fu Yan's lips pressed closer to mine, getting nearer. He pulled off the thin blanket from my shoulders, letting it fall to the floor, his palm pressed against the back of my head. Han Tang, I want you to prove to me now that you choose me, not him. With those words, he fiercely kissed me, his tongue forcing past my teeth, and I helplessly accepted. My wrists were tightly grasped by Fu Yan, held above my head. He possessed me with a resentful desire. frantically nibbling at my earlobe and lips until a taste of blood filled my mouth. I winced in pain, then a hurried footstep approached from the doorway. Shinchin anxiously said, "I've been calling for a while and no one answered. I was worried something had happened to my girlfriend." Then the door lock clicked. As the room door was pushed open, Fu Yan swiftly draped the thin blanket over my shoulders. He pushed me forward, and I appeared at the door, panting, and Fu Yan, he hid behind the door. I saw Shinchin and a female staff member standing at the doorway, staring at me with strange looks, especially Shinchin. His gaze fell on the front of my chest. I wrapped myself in a light blanket, trying to stay calm as I explained, "I was just taking a shower." Shinchin glanced at my damp hair, sighed with relief, and stammered, "I thought something had happened to you. I was so scared." Tang, tang. His speech slowed as he stared at my bitten lips, his expression changing slightly. "What happened to your lips?" Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Fu Yan, standing behind the door, touch his lips and then look at the blood on the back of his hand, smirking slightly. The awkward atmosphere prompted the staff to find an excuse to leave. Shinchen's eyes swept over me and peered into the room, tentatively asking, "Are you alone in the room?" He even thought about coming in, but I stopped him. "It's getting late. I'm tired. Let's talk about this tomorrow. Good night." I coldly shut Shinchin out of the door. As soon as I turned around, Fu Yan grabbed me, pinning me against the door. He traced his fingertips over my lips, gently pinching them, and said with self-mockery, "Han Tang, you've been reborn too, haven't you? Otherwise, you wouldn't have come to me." He whispered in my ear, his breath warm but his tone chillingly cold. "But Han Tang, I don't need your guilt. If you seek revenge, I won't stop you. But in this life, I won't be manipulated by you again. From now on, we go our separate ways and have nothing to do with each other." In the previous life, Fu Yan had always dragged his feet on agreeing to break off our engagement. But this night, just after I returned from the resort, my mother received a call from Aunt Fu saying he had agreed to the breakup. Aunt Fu even expressed her regret over the phone, saying, "I really liked Tang Tang. What a pity." I was sitting next to my mom at the time, feeling a mix of emotions. My mom gave me a sharp look and apologized to Aunt Fu. "It's Han Tang who is unfortunate, not worthy of Fu Yan." After hanging up, my mom sighed, "Tang Tang, I don't even know what to say to you. That Shinchin must have bewitched you to be so fixated on him." I touched the few strands of white hair at my mom's temples, content just to see her again. "Mom, I'll listen to you and break up with Shinchin." My mom was stunned, confirming it twice before she could believe her ears. She happily held my hand, saying, "You have to trust your mom's judgment. Shinchin is not the right one for you." I smiled bitterly. If only I had listened before, I wouldn't have ended up in such a state. But is this really the end for me and Fu Yan? After the weekend, I returned to school. Shinchin was waiting early at the entrance of the teaching building, waiting for me to finish class. Seeing me come out, he walked over and took my bag. "Tang Tang, I sent you many messages last night. Why didn't you reply?" Pretending not to know, I replied, "I went to sleep early. My phone was on silent." Shinchin walked with me, trying a few times to hold my hand, but I avoided it each time. Finally unable to hold back, he pulled me aside and asked, "Tang Tang, did I do something wrong? Did I make you angry? You've been so cold to me lately, almost like a different person." I looked at Shinchen's face, full of grievance, as if he was truly devastated by his love for me. His expression reminded me of our past life when, after losing money in the stock market, he would come to me looking pitiful, seeking a bailout. A sudden thought crossed my mind. He loves money, doesn't he, this time? I'll let his greed be his downfall. "Shinchin, my parents don't approve of us being together," I said with a look of dejection. "I've been really troubled about this lately." Shinchin immediately tensed up. "What should we do? Tang Tang, I love you so much. If I can't marry you, what's the point of living?" He played the victim, saying, "I know I come from a small town, and your uncle and aunt think I'm not worthy of you. So, Shinchin, you just need to show them that you can make money." I egged him on. "You've been working and saving diligently these past few years and have saved up 30,000 yuan, right? I heard from a friend of my mom that there's a stock that's been doing really well recently, tripling in value in just a month. You could use that 30,000 yuan to invest in stocks and make a lot of money." Stock trading. Shinchin hesitated. "But I don't know how." "What if I lose all that 30,000 yuan? I encouraged him. "I'm here, aren't I? What are you worried about? I'll help you get the inside scoop." My parents said if you can afford a house, they'll agree to our marriage after graduation. "Shinchin, don't you want to marry me?" "I do," he said, more cunning than a monkey, agreeing eagerly. He'd rather risk losing the 30,000 yuan than lose me, his cash cow. Within just a few days, that 30,000 yuan tripled. Shinchin came to my dorm excitedly and hugged me. "Tang Tang, you really are my lucky star. You know, I now have 90,000 yuan in my account." Back in our hometown, that could be a down payment for a house. He wanted to withdraw all the money. I quickly used his greed, advising him to make money work for money. I also pretended to regret. It's a pity, though, this money is still not enough. It's so hard to save up for a house. If only we had more money. After all, the stock market's rise is limited. We need to seize the time. I hinted to him that marrying me would mean inheriting my family's wealth, making it worth his while to take a risk. Shinshin immediately swore, Tang Tang, don't worry, I'll figure out the money issue, rest assured. I'll work hard to buy a house so we can get married. That night, as I got up to use the bathroom, I overheard Wang Man secretly taking a call. Shinshin was asking her for money. Use your brain. Once I marry her, all her Han family's wealth will be ours, right? From their conversation, I learned. It turns out the car accident that Shinshin saved me from previously was prearranged by him. Wang Man had been cozying up to me since moving into the dorm, all to gain my trust and introduce me to Shinshin. From the start, they had their eyes on my family's money. Finally, Shinshin said, I'll send you my card number. Quickly transfer the money to me. I'll also borrow some high-interest loans, and once I make money, I'll pay you back double. I clenched my fists in anger, grinding my teeth. To live this life over, they owe me, and I will reclaim it all with interest. In the early hours, I lay in bed unable to sleep. While browsing on my phone, I saw a picture of Fu Yan on a friend's Facebook. The IP was from France. In the photo, he was standing with a beautiful woman. It appeared to be at a grand gathering. The event was splendidly decorated, with dazzling lights everywhere. I couldn't help but ask a friend about Fu Yan's recent situation. My friend teased me, saying, What, Miss Han? Are you regretting calling off the engagement? Too late now though. The girl in the photo is a marriage prospect the Fu family has picked out for him, and I heard they are currently getting to know each other. He really did what he said he would. And from then on, we went our separate ways. It's for the best. A week later, a collegiate design competition was held in the province. In my past life, it was on the morning of this competition that I suddenly suffered from severe diarrhea. Wang Man took the design I had created and competed alone, winning first place but never mentioning me. Her excuse later was that she was too nervous at the time and became incoherent. Then she cried and apologized to me. But as a result, she gained fame and was immediately recruited by a top domestic design company upon graduation, transforming her life dramatically. After my tragic death, she and Shinshin became the envy of everyone as they soared high together. This morning, however, Wang Man tried the same trick again, handing me a cup of water laced with laxatives. Tan Tan, I heard you coughing last night. Drink some water to soothe your throat. You have to give a speech on stage later. I took the water without showing any reaction and smiled. Thank you. She lingered by my bed, wanting to see me drink it. I played dumb and asked her, What are you staring at? She nervously scratched her head. Oh, nothing. Just that the necklace on your neck is really pretty. I touched my necklace. Shinshin gave it to me. Wang Man's smile became unnatural for a few seconds. I'm going to wash up. While no one was looking, I poured the water she gave me into a flower pot and deliberately placed the empty cup on the table. When she came back from washing up and saw the empty cup, she was indeed pleased. Before leaving, I pretended to have a stomach ache and let Wang Man go ahead. Wang Man feigned concern for a few moments, then hurried off as if she couldn't wait to get away, fearing I might catch up. Little did she know that on this day, which she thought marked the beginning of her glory, it would actually be the start of her and Shinchen's descent into hell. I specifically arrived 2 minutes before I was due on stage for my speech. Wang Man, seeing me, jumped as if she had seen a ghost, her eyes instinctively dropping to my stomach. Tan Tan, you. I calmly smiled. My stomach is fine. It's almost our turn, right? She nodded dumbly. When I took the speech manuscript from her hands, she was reluctant to let go but forced a strained smile, making it quite comical. As the host called my name, Wang Man still held out hope and asked me, Tan Tan, are you really okay? It would be terrible if your stomach acted up on stage. Maybe I should. I cut her off. I'm fine. Under her reluctant gaze, I slowly walked onto the stage, capturing the attention of the entire audience. The design was something I had put a lot of thought into. Wang Man was merely an assistant. Had it not been for her family's poor circumstances and her sick father, I wouldn't have kindly included her in the credits, giving her an opportunity to shine. I had memorized the speech so well that I was the only contestant who spoke without a script. After the presentation, the audience applauded for me. One of the senior judges, Joan, a well-known designer in the industry and the same person who offered Wang Man an opportunity in my previous life, actively asked me, Han Tang, I really like your design. You are very talented. Would you be interested in working at my company after graduation? I smiled gracefully. I would love to. I will reclaim the spotlight that Wang Man took from me. Everything was taken back. That evening, Shinshin invited many friends and specifically booked a very expensive local restaurant to celebrate my championship victory. Ever since he started making money, he has been spending more lavishly, filling his wardrobe with brand-name clothes. Watching him give a toast at the dinner table, with his pretentious demeanor, I couldn't help but want to laugh. In his past life, he always pretended to be a frail scholar, eliciting sympathy from others. Now, he seemed like a nouveau riche, eager for the whole world to know that he was no longer poor, proudly raising his head high. This was good. The higher he climbed, the harder he would fall. Within my mind, I calculated that in less than a month, the stock he invested in would hit continuous limit downs. By then, all his money would be trapped. Not only would he and Wang Man be left with nothing, but the high-interest loans alone would be enough to ruin him. Wang Man sat next to me, barely speaking throughout the evening. I asked her, Man, what's wrong? She hesitated and then said, Tang, when you were giving your award acceptance speech today, why didn't you mention me at all, even though I drew the design drafts? I also contributed. Didn't you say you would credit me? I took a sip of orange juice, mimicking her demeanor from her past life, and feigned realization. Oh. Man, it's all my fault. I was too excited when I received the award, and I spoke incoherently. I'm sorry. She had no choice but to act magnanimous. It's okay. I know it wasn't intentional, but, Tang, we are about to graduate, and I still haven't found a job. Today, you accepted an invitation from Joan, a top design firm in the country where countless people are vying to get in, so, when you go, could you take me with you? I inwardly sneered. Sure, just you wait. Wang Man immediately showed a delighted expression, thanking me profusely. Shinchin, drunk, slung his arm around my shoulders, singing and dancing like a crazed donkey. He said, Tang, wait until I buy a big house. We'll get married right away. Tang, you don't know how much I want to hurry up and bring you home. Tang, if our kids look like you, they'll definitely be very beautiful. Kids. I remembered the child who was 4 months old in my womb, kicked out by Shinchin. And my heart felt as if it was being carved by a knife. Amidst everyone's cheering, Shinchin suddenly leaned in and kissed me fiercely on the face. I immediately pushed him away in disgust. Don't touch me. Shinchin was stunned, so were the others. Wang Man stared at me incredulously, but fortunately, since Shinchin was quite drunk and not very coherent, he thought I was just playing around and came over to hug me. Baby, are you mad that I drank? I'm sorry. I won't drink anymore, okay? I responded with a forced smile. You guys go ahead. I'll head to the restroom. I rushed into the restroom, immediately grabbed a piece of paper, wet it, and furiously scrubbed my face in the mirror. Even though my skin turned red, I still felt disgusted. Finally, frustrated, I threw the paper at the mirror. It took me a while to calm down. When I left the restroom and was walking back to the private room, I unexpectedly saw Fu Yin coming out from another corridor. He headed towards the elevator. It had been a long time since I last saw him, and his figure seemed even more slender from behind. I watched as he and his group entered the elevator one after another. On impulse, I followed and hurriedly pressed the button for the opposite elevator. When I reached the entrance, Fu Yin was seeing someone off to their car. When his Mercedes pulled up, he declined a ride, saying, I'd like to walk. You go ahead. 17. If you're going to put on a show, do it right. I sent a WeChat message to Wang Man, telling her I had to leave early due to a family emergency and asked her to look after Shinchin. The night streets, adorned with colorful neon lights, were dreamlike. People passed by in pairs and groups, chatting and enjoying themselves comfortably. I secretly followed behind Fu Yin, keeping a cautious distance, watching him from afar through the crowd. Under the streetlight, his shadow stretched out long and looked so lonely. He stopped in front of an elderly woman sitting on the ground. Beside her sat a boy about 2 years old, in tattered clothes, with a dirty rice cracker in his mouth. Fu Yin took some money out of his wallet and gave it to her, buying all the handcrafted items made from yarn at her stall. The elderly woman was tearfully grateful, carrying the bag of crafts, which were of no use to him. Fu Yin continued walking. I hurriedly bought some food from a roadside stall. I ran up to the elderly woman, stuffed the warm food into her hands, and, patting the boy's head, said, Little guy, make sure you take good care of your grandma when you grow up. The elderly woman kept thanking me, but when I turned around to look for Fu Yin, he had disappeared into the crowd. I panicked. It felt like losing a precious treasure as I looked around desperately. I accidentally bumped into a young couple. The girl's milk tea spilled all over me, and she quickly apologized. I shook my head. It's okay. I should be the one apologizing. It wasn't until they walked away that I dejectedly lowered my head, looking at my disheveled self. Then a hand reached out, offering me a pack of tissues. I slowly looked up, following the hand up to meet Fu Yin's cold gaze. The city's noise faded into silence at that moment, and all the clamor seemed distant, in my eyes. There was only him. I stumbled over my words, and finally diverted the topic awkwardly. What a coincidence, is it? His gaze lingered on my face, his expression indifferent, yet his eyes intense. Haven't you been following me all along? Fu Yin stuffed the tissues into my hand and turned to leave. I blurted out in desperation, Fu Yin, I have something to tell you. 18. We found a relatively quiet place. Fu Yin stood under the streetlight, his posture as straight as a pine tree. What is it? Speak. I told him about my parents. When they were young, my mother had someone she liked but was forced into an arranged marriage with my father due to family reasons. Their marriage was not a happy one. They argued frequently, and it was common for my father to not come home for months. As a child, I envied other kids whose parents would attend school activities on family days, but my parents were always too busy, only sending the nanny instead, throughout my childhood. They hardly cared for me, yet they started imposing restrictions during my most rebellious teenage years. They would lecture me with principles I could barely understand, always demanding how I should be. I rebelled against them. The more displeased they were, the more I resisted. I felt a rush of joy at the thought of my decision. In my previous life, I loved Shinchin not only because he was such a good pretender, but also because he always did as I wished. Especially when my parents found out and were strongly against us being together, I wanted to marry him even more. It was a sort of pathological revenge. Every time they argued, they would leave the house in a complete mess. I kept telling myself that I would never want to live that kind of life. So Fu Yan, my refusal to enter into an arranged marriage isn't about you. It would be the same with anyone they chose for me. I would resist. I hate them controlling me. And I'm even more afraid of ending up in a marriage like theirs, seemingly perfect but devoid of real connection. I don't want my children to grow up in such an unhealthy family environment. But because of my stubbornness, I ended up with such a fate, dragging you down with me, losing your life, for which I am truly sorry. That apology is what I owe him. Everyone has been young and reckless. I long more than anyone to start over. Fu Yan. When I asked you the other day if you would still marry me, I meant it sincerely. It wasn't just out of guilt, but also because I don't want to miss out on you again. Fu Yan remained silent the whole time, quietly listening to me. The ground around his feet was littered with cigarette butts, his brow furrowed. After a long silence, Fu Yan flicked his last cigarette butt onto the ground and stubbed it out with the tip of his shoe. He looked up at me. Are you done? My hands clenched the fabric of my clothes because of his indifference. His gaze was calm and undisturbed. Han Tang, I accept your apology, but that's all. I have things to do. I must go now. Goodbye. I watched his receding figure, tears sliding down unexpectedly. But now is not the time to be sad. The time left for me is running out. I need to quickly implement my plan. On the night of Shinchen's 23rd birthday, he had booked a hotel suite and planned to propose to me. It was Wang Man who took me there. The room was romantically and warmly decorated with pink balloons and petals scattered around, creating a sweet atmosphere. In the center, there was a bouquet of carefully selected roses, their petals glittering softly under the light. Shinchin, dressed in a suit looking proper and fitting, stood in front of the roses, holding a diamond ring, and knelt on one knee. Tang Tang, will you marry me? Facing his expectant eyes, I slowly walked over. Amidst everyone's blessings, I swung my hand and slapped him hard. The diamond ring fell from Shinchen's hand, clattering to the floor. He held his half-turned face in disbelief, looking at me. Everyone else froze, hardly daring to breathe. My glare swept over Shinchen and Wang Man as I demanded, when did you two get together? My question came out of nowhere. Shinchen and Wang Man looked bewildered. They glanced at each other in shock before Shinchen immediately grabbed my hand, pleading. Tang Tang, Wang Man and I are innocent. Don't listen to the gossip. They are just jealous. Wang Man also nervously explained. Yes, Tang Tang, we're best friends. How could I? Before she could finish her sentence, I showed them the video on my phone. The video clearly showed them passionately kissing, which I had secretly filmed that night at the resort. Their faces turned pale as they stared at the screen on my phone. Panic was visibly in the air. Just an hour ago, someone posted a video of you two passionately kissing on the campus network. Now the whole school knows. I pretended to be heartbroken, my voice trembling. Shinchin, Wang Man, how could you do this to me? I trusted you so much, treated you so well, and this is how you repay me. Shinchin tried to pull me back, but I shrugged off his hand and slapped him again. Don't touch me. I glanced at the romantic setting in the room and said sarcastically, keep this marriage proposal for Wang Man. I'll give you my blessing. As I turned to leave, I dropped the facade of heartbreak and smirked coldly. Next, it would be a dog-eat-dog scenario for them. In fact, I had deliberately arranged for the kissing video to be uploaded today. Firstly, I knew about Shinchen's plan to propose to me tonight, and I wanted to expose him and Wang Man publicly, shattering his dream. Secondly, the stock market is going to crash tomorrow, and I needed something significant to distract Shinchen, keeping him from focusing on his stocks. By the time he realizes, his stocks will be trapped, and he will be ruined. Now, the whole school is cursing them as immoral. After tonight, they will be pointed at and talked about wherever they go, never to have a peaceful day again. It rained heavily that evening, and my other two roommates didn't come back. I didn't know what happened between Shinchen and Wang Man. When Wang Man entered, she was drenched like a drowned rat and stormed up to me angrily. Han Tang, you did this on purpose, didn't you? You knew I was with Shinchen all along, didn't you? I removed my face mask, looking at her innocently. Why are you so angry? Being the other woman, Wang Man, playing the victim first, accused me. Han Tang, I never saw it coming. You always acted like a good person. But you're so cunning. Now Shinchen has completely turned against me. Are you happy? I smiled faintly. Happy? This is far from enough. Only then did Wang Man realize. So that morning of the competition, you knew I drugged your water. You pretended to give me hope, only to watch it dashed. You never planned to take me with you to work with Joan. Are you playing me? I spoke leisurely. Playing you? Why should I pick a day? Enraged and embarrassed, Wang Man lunged at me like a madwoman, but I slapped her back. She covered her face, her eyes wide as saucers. You dare hit me? I stepped forward, grabbed her by the collar, my gaze sharp as a knife. Hitting you is hardly satisfying, Wang Man. The show has just begun. Let's take it slow. Wang Man, being extremely prideful, couldn't handle the pointing and whispering, and soon submitted a leave of absence request to the school. Shinchin sent me countless messages every day. Skipping classes, just waiting under the girls' dorm, seeing me, he would cry and beg for forgiveness. Tang Tang, you have to believe me, my feelings for you are genuine. It was all one man seducing me. I was forced. Tang Tang, as long as you can forgive me, I'll do anything. Just please don't ignore me. It's killing me. Until one day, when he came to me, he was fraught with anxiety. Tang Tang, what should we do? The money in stocks is almost gone. I've been so focused on you lately. I haven't been paying attention. What should I do? Tang Tang, can you help me? I borrowed so much from loan sharks. If I can't pay them back, they'll kill me. He even knelt down in front of me publicly, abandoning all his pride, pleading, Tang Tang, I did it all for you. You were the one who said that stock was a sure win, and that you'd marry me once I had enough money for a house. You can't just abandon me now. I looked down at Shinchin kneeling before me, pitiful as a dog. But you also said, if you were ever unfaithful, you'd be struck by lightning, yet here you are, still alive and well. It took a lot of effort to pull my hand from Shinchin's grasp. Shinchin, look into your heart and ask yourself, are you really doing all this just to marry me? Or is it for the money? You've brought this on yourself with your greed, and you deserve it. Don't come looking for me again. Your current state disgusts me. Seeing me about to leave. He grabbed my arm unwillingly, his words carrying a sharp edge. Han Tang, do you really need to be so ruthless? Ruthless, I responded coldly. Shinchin, compared to what you've done to me, I've been quite merciful. As I turned to leave, Shinchin threatened from behind. Han Tang, even a cornered dog will jump over a wall. Don't push me. Shinchin came looking for me a few times after that. I didn't even show him my face. I heard he got caught by the loan sharks and hasn't been seen at school for days. I don't even know if he's alive or dead. Sometime later, Wang Man suddenly drove a luxury car back to school to withdraw. Seeing her again, she seemed like a different person, dressed head to toe in designer brands. Even the bag she carried was worth tens of thousands. My roommate said, Wang Man was being kept by someone. When I was leaving the cafeteria, Wang Man blocked my path. She stood before me, arrogant and removing her sunglasses with her red-painted nails. Long time no see, Han Tang. I came specifically to thank you. If it weren't for what you did back then, forcing me to drop out, I would never have met my husband. What's the point of sticking with Shinchin? That poor guy. Look at my life now, living in luxury. Don't be too jealous. I looked back at her. Wang Man, do you enjoy being the mistress? Wang Man just laughed carelessly. What's wrong with being a mistress? He gives me money, lets me live in a mansion, and drive a luxury car. That's good enough for me. What's the point of clinging to a marriage certificate? My husband always says, he and I are true love. He just met me too late. Besides, in love, the one who isn't loved is the real third party. In my view, that plain Jane is the real intruder in our relationship. Listening to her spouting nonsense, I finally understood why the ancients said that more words lead to disagreement. Wang Man provoked me. By the way, Han Tang, I saw that wealthy fiancé you broke off your engagement with at a banquet recently. Fuyan, right? My heart felt like it was pricked. Her gaze sharpened, cutting towards her like the edge of a knife. Wang Man chuckled and said, you know, he's quite handsome and successful, and I heard that he and his current fiancée have broken up. Do you think if I could win over Fuyan, I'd really be marrying into a wealthy family? I clenched my teeth secretly, my temples throbbing fiercely. Stay away from him, I warned her. Wang Man raised an eyebrow, looking at me in surprise. So, you care about him? I tightened my grip on my hands. Before she left, Wang Man deliberately taunted me. Maybe the next time we meet, you'll have to call me Fuyan's girlfriend. Wang Man's words echoed in my ears, disturbing my peace. I knew Fuyan wasn't interested in her, but seeing Wang Man's crazed state last time, I feared she might do something drastic to get back at me and tarnish Fuyan's reputation. I didn't want to drag him into this. After much hesitation, I decided to go see him. I lingered at the gate of his villa for a long time, lacking the courage to ring the doorbell. Hearing footsteps inside, I panicked and hid. Then I saw Fuyan escorting a girl out. I recognized her immediately from a photo I had seen before. As she left, she turned to him and said, okay, stop here, Fuyan. Dressed in casual white attire with his hands casually tucked in his pockets, replied, have a safe trip. The girl, with a sweet smile, said, thanks for agreeing to the arranged marriage before. It gave me and Aylin time to prepare to go abroad. Otherwise, my mom would have been totally against it. When Aylin and I register our marriage abroad, you're welcome to attend. Fuyan chuckled softly. Sure, I wish you happiness. They hugged politely and said their goodbyes. The girl got into her car. Before driving away, she rolled down her window and said to Fuyan, hey, I saw the photo of the girl you've hidden in your phone. She's beautiful and suits you well. Fuyan, love isn't something that waits. If you truly can't let go, why not try giving each other another chance? You've got to be strong. As the car drove away, disappearing into the distance, Fuyan turned to go inside. I called out to him, Fuyan. He paused and looked back, instinctively glancing in the direction the car had disappeared. Seemingly judging whether I had heard their conversation, I approached him and disclosed everything about Wang Man. I know you don't like her. I just wanted to warn you to be careful. She's ruthless, and I don't want you to get involved." Fu Yan's voice lowered as he asked, "Did you come all this way just to tell me this?" I nodded. After a long silence, he didn't speak again. I pursed my lips. "That's all. I'm leaving. Goodbye." I didn't know how far I had walked when suddenly Fu Yan called out, "Haunting." Joy surged in my heart, and I immediately turned to look at him. His dark eyes brimmed with light, as if a handful of stardust had settled in them. "Shinchin is being chased by debt collectors. He's a ruthless man. Be careful." Was he showing concern for me? He had been keeping an eye on me all this time. My eyes nearly welled up with tears as I smiled and said, "I know. I refused to let Wang Man act recklessly. So, I paid someone to follow her and took many photos of her with a middle-aged man entering hotels and being intimate in public, then anonymously sent them to his wife. Before long, the wife caught them and pinned her down on the hotel bed. The man, looking out for himself, claimed that it was Wang Man who seduced him, as expected. That's the typical excuse of a scoundrel, but the wife wasn't someone to be trifled with. She gathered some friends, stripped Wang Man naked, and threw her into the street where passers-by took photos and videos that ended up online. She even hired someone to drive Wang Man out of town, banning her from returning. 25. After dealing with Wang Man's situation, I started to get busy with my graduation thesis. That evening, Joan suddenly invited me out to dinner to discuss job opportunities after graduation. We had a great time talking. She had drunk a bit too much to drive. I called a ride for her and watched until her car had left. Then I took a ride back to school. After getting out of the car, I went to a supermarket and bought some yogurt. As I was walking back to school, Fu Yan suddenly appeared. He quickly put his arm around my shoulders and pulled me close, whispering, "Don't make a sound. Shinchin is following us." I had a bad feeling about this. Fu Yan, holding me close, hurried towards the school, whispering, "Shinchin has been following you all night. I'm worried he might hurt you." I couldn't help but remember Shinchen's hideous expression the night he set fire to kill me in my previous life. But Fu Yan's presence now meant he was being dragged into this too. Just as I was about to tell him to leave, Shinchin, who had been following us, suddenly called out, "Haunting." I stopped in my tracks. That voice, that tone, it was just like that night. Shinchin seemed intent on killing. As I turned around, I instinctively stepped in front of Fu Yan, fearing Shinchin would harm him. Shinchin took off his hat and mask and threw them to the ground. He pointed at Fu Yan behind me and shouted, "You dumped me for him. Is it because he's richer and more powerful, right, Haunting? So you're just a vain and greedy bitch. You've ruined me. And now you're living carefree with someone else." As Shinchin spoke, his eyes met Fu Yan's, and a fierce battle of anger ensued. Fu Yan shielded me behind him, using his tall frame as a barrier. "Shinchin, I've already called the police. Don't do anything stupid." "Police? Ha, you think I'm scared?" Shinchin's gaze shifted past Fu Yan, aiming directly at me. "Haunting, Wang Man told me everything before she left. You've been setting us up from the start. You never intended to marry me. You used my desire to marry you to drive me to this point. You're playing me. You've driven me into debt. And now you want to kick me aside. There's no such thing as a free lunch. I'd rather die than let you get away with this." Sirens could be heard in the distance. The flashing red and blue lights illuminated the darkness around us and shone on Shinchen's face. The next second, he pulled a fruit knife from his bag and, gritting his teeth, charged at us, shouting, "Haunting, go to hell." The distance was too close. Shinchin seemed crazed. Fu Yan and I barely had time to react. Without thinking, Fu Yan turned and embraced me, but I couldn't let him be harmed. At the moment Shinchin lunged with his knife, I gathered all my strength and pushed Fu Yan away. Shinchin's knife plunged into my abdomen. He grabbed my shoulders and viciously twisted the knife deeper. "Haunting, go to die. Just die." It felt like a tremendous force was tearing inside me. It hurt. It was painful. Shinchin was only released when a police officer shot him in the head. His blood splattered on my face. I watched as he fell backwards, his body twitching on the ground. Once he was confirmed dead, the force that had been sustaining me inside collapsed. Fu Yan rushed over, caught my falling body, and held me tightly, his eyes misting over. The alarm bells were incessant. I saw people running this way. They surrounded Shinchin. Guns pointed at him. Someone else was calling for an ambulance. And there I was, quietly lying in Fu Yan's arms, lifting my blood-stained hand to gently touch his face, smiling with acceptance. "It's good that it wasn't you, this time. Let's say I saved you, one life for another. Are we even now?" Fu Yan gripped my hand tightly, his voice strained and hoarse. "Haunting, you owe me far more than just one life. I want you to live well, to make it up to me. Do you hear?" I vomited blood, tears flowing uncontrollably. "Fu Yan, I'm sorry. I've let you down. I truly regret it. If there really is a next life, I'll be the one to fall for you first." 26. My life was not long. My soul drifted from my body, and my past flashed before my eyes like a carousel. It turns out that the first time I met Fu Yan, it wasn't his first time seeing me. It turns out that he was the one who initiated our engagement, which is why Aunt Fu arranged to meet my mother. It turns out that on the day I married Shinchin, Fu Yan was there, watching me from the shadows, and quietly left before the lights came on after the ceremony. It turns out he had already bought a wedding ring and threw it into a trash bin after leaving the wedding venue. It turns out he had fallen for me back when I was a freshman volunteering as a caregiver in a nursing home, so early on, it turns out I hurt him deeply. 27. When I opened my eyes again, I was back to the day I first met Fu Yan. The reserved man sat across from me. Aunt Fu watched me with a constant smile. After exchanging glances with my mom, she turned to me and said, "Tang Tang, you don't know how outstanding Fu Yan is." She went on and on, sounding almost like a matchmaker. I just listened quietly, my gaze fixed on Fu Yan's face, tears nearly welling up. That year, he was 24, and I was 20. I hadn't met Chen yet. Everything was just right. "Fu Yan, I like you."